Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I started a live stream and then I had problems, technical problems. I was simulcasting on Rumble and Utizzle and was having problems with responses. I wasn't getting a response. So I believe I'm going to have to do YouTube and exclusively and then upload later to Rumble. I keep getting burned every time I try to simulcast lately, and I can't see Rumble chats. I don't know why they segregate that in the platforms that we use. So anyway, I don't know. It's a problem. But anyway, I am live now, so I hope you all get whatever you want, a cup of coffee or whatever you need to settle in. And then we're going to have a discussion as to what's going on with this tanker being seized. And I have video of a tanker of a Russian fleet. The Russian fleet, Shadow Fleet, was attacked today. And I got video of it, of drones severely damaging. I guess I'll play that tomorrow when I reboot my studio and broadcast on YouTube. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. And I apologize to my Rumble people. I'll do the best I can to get you videos. But nobody wants to cooperate with Rumble. I believe that's right. I don't believe it's the platform itself. I believe these other streaming services just work with Utizzle and a couple of other favored platforms, and they don't work with Rumble. So not very well. Anyway, hi, Randy. How you doing? Todd, nice to see you. Kim's here. Ha, Melinda. Sissy, nice to see you. Gary. Oh, you're all right, buddy. Todd's here. Let's see. Greg, Mr. Kibler. I did freeze up. And I had to, whoa, wait a minute. I had to ditch my studio. I spent 6 hours today accumulating things that I'll just have to communicate to you verbally rather than a picture show, because everything blew up in my face. And then I had to set the studio up here, the title, the thumbnail, the scheduling, do all that stuff, and somehow have my head straight to be able to discuss important matters of the day. Sherry, nice to see you. But, you know, the folks who stick with me, it's a pretty cemented group. They like the picture shows just as much as they like the talking heads and vice versa. So I'll be a talking head tonight. So anyway, we had Donald Trump do a rally in Pennsylvania. I had some clips from him, and he was putting out some good stuff. I have to play them tomorrow, and we can analyze them, but we can discuss them tonight. He also had a press conference in the Oval Office. He also gave an interview to Politico, this man who the left is saying is falling apart. And people like James Carville, you heard him. I played it right here. I played it where he said he knows his health is going, his mind is going. He's only got a matter of time. And they never questioned Joe Biden when he was walking into walls, shaking hands with flags, breaking wind in public. I played that video, I don't know how many times, where he's glad hand people stand there, and all of a sudden, everybody goes, what in the world was that? And it was Joe losing his bowels. Oh, but Donald Trump, they want to see his MRI. So it's insane. And, the general public has that information hidden from them by their power to ignore, the media's power to ignore. So, today is 3 months to the day since Charlie Kirk was shot, was assassinated. And I had some I'll read them. Some stuff from Jack Posobiec, who's kind of blown a cork. Not really, but he's getting upset with a lot of the clickbaiters who are talking about Jewish people popping out of hatches in the ground, and the security team was in on it, and da da da. And I haven't got into any of that, but I'm ain't nobody can tell me that guy didn't do it. Okay, that perverted, furry, leftist, Marxist, hedonist weirdo did it. All right, and I'm not going to try to get clickbaits over it. I'm not going to try to do that stuff. Just like I'm not going to try to say, oh, get ready, something big's going to happen. How many times you heard that? But something big is happening. Okay. The tanker being seized. Trump talked about it today in the Oval Office. And he was talking about the president of Colombia and a couple of these little banana republics down there that have fallen for the siren song of Marxist influence, Soviet influence, formerly called Soviet influence, but China, okay? And we don't want that crap in our hemisphere. Things are getting ready to happen with Ilhan Omar. The walls are closing in. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it sounds familiar to me. Tom Homan said, yeah, we're going to take a look. I got my eyes on her. And he's asked for an investigation. And Trump today at his rally talked about her, marrying her brother. It's coming out in the open. And you don't hear a damn thing about the left. After the judge said, go ahead and release the Epstein files. Quiet. Oh, is it really quiet? I'll tell you what's not being reported. Tom Hanks came out with a diatribe against Donald Trump. George Clooney. And the ever angry, ever obnoxious Robert De Niro. With the same talking points. Talking bad about Donald Trump. Donald Trump should be ashamed of himself for trying to link people in the entertainment industry with Jeffrey Epstein. Because apparently Donald Trump made some comments that are not being reported, linking these very self-same people to Jeffrey Epstein. And they're blowing a cork over it. So much so that Tom Hanks has been fired from a project he was going to do. A movie. Have you all heard this? Have you all heard about Tom Hanks getting yanked off a project? Supposedly one of the highest grossing and drawing male stars in Hollywood. He got his walking papers. They were going to do a movie, a mystery thriller movie about a recent past politician. And it's supposed to be a drama, mystery, thriller. Speculation that it's either Joe Biden or Bill Clinton. And Hanks was going to play the lead. But he said things that have been so incendiary and so full of TDS that they fired him. And he's threatening a lawsuit. And that brought in the George Clooney's and the Robert De Niro's, who himself got yanked late last year, from a $7 million project. I don't know how much Hanks was getting paid. But it reminds me of when Babs Streisand, and who's her husband? You all know that star. I forget his name. Did a movie about Reagan, Ronald Reagan. And they dressed this guy up in makeup and did his hair like Reagan combed his hair. And one of the scenes had Reagan sitting down and looking evil sneer on his face. And he was talking about the AIDS. And he said, doesn't morality and medicine teach us the same thing? These people are immoral. You know, like AIDS victims deserved it. They portrayed Reagan in a wholly unfair light. Barbara Streisand put millions into the production of that thing. Who was her husband? And he was a star. Oh, gosh. Anyway, they shot the movie. It's in the can. And Nancy Reagan said, you put that movie up, I'll sue your ass off. I know some of you out there in the chats remember that. And they didn't put the movie out. Barbara Streisand didn't want to be living in a cardboard box on the street because Nancy Reagan was I didn't agree with a lot of stuff she did. But she let her husband be president, and she didn't talk about her positions until after he passed away. And unlike past first ladies like Eleanor Roosevelt or Woodrow Wilson's wife or Bill Clinton's wife. But anyway, so the movie is finished. And this was 20 years ago. They tried to put that trash out. So my suspicion was they were going to try to do a movie about Biden or a recent historical figure, a politician, thriller. So I'll find out more about it. And I'll get some of the quotes from Tom Hanks, where he's bashing Donald Trump and his supporters with the usual crap, Nazis, fascists, blah, blah, blah. And that is when Paramount Pictures, I believe it was, said, you're out of here. We're not going to use you. And you're barred from doing any more movies with the studio. So it's a big blow up, a big Hollywood blow up. Does the average American hear one word out of this? But oh no, they heard over and over and over and over again that Donald Trump said Rosie O'Donnell was a pig. Rosie O'Donnell, who gives a damn about Rosie O'Donnell? Something Donald Trump said 20 years ago, 15 years ago. But they spread that all around. I'm kind of glad my studio didn't work. I get to talk about the stuff I want to talk about. Oh, Google account, how you doing? Yes, she was loyal to Ron Reagan. That's right. And she kept her opinions to herself. Brolin, yeah. Gary, Kim, Todd, yeah. Brolin got that role. And you can goggle it, and you might be able to see that clip. It's a crummy makeup job, of them trying to make James Brolin look like Reagan. Okay, and of course they made him just an evil man, warmongering Ronald Reagan, Raygun. So anyway, Paramount, by the way, as we discussed the other night, is putting in a bid on Netflix and trying to short circuit. I mean, not Netflix. What in the world? Warner Brothers. Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers. And of course, we know that Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him, is on the board or be on the payroll. So is Mike Schell. And on the board is Susan Rice, who a lot of people speculate is like Macron's wife, like Emmanuel Macron's wife and Barack Hussein Obama's wife. Same kind of person. So anyway, Ellison is the name of the guy behind Paramount. And I remember reading, I used to subscribe to National Review. William F. Buckley. You all remember that National Review magazine? And Buckley did an editorial where he said, conservatives keep complaining about liberals running the media. Well, he said, I know plenty of conservatives that got plenty of money. If they feel so strongly in their beliefs and they want their beliefs getting out to the public and stop a monopoly, why don't they buy some media services? And that was right before Rush Limbaugh took off with EIB radio, Excellence in Broadcasting. Before Rush Limbaugh, you had Michael Savage, Savage Nation, and not a lot of people, some people listened to it, but it didn't have the reach that these networks have. And all the networks have been taken over by liberal interests. So now we see with Paramount a move by conservatives to be involved and save Warner Bros. From a Marxist hellhole. And it looks like they're going to either have to come up with some money, a competing bid, or Netflix is going to, maybe they'll try to pull some strings, Maybe that'll be another way of flushing out more people who are involved, like in the Security and Exchange Commission, the FEC, that are still roosting in our government positions, participating in this Marxist cabal's takeover of our nation. So, there was a lot of stories out. If I had a staff, if I had people to do research, people to help with editing, people to help with thumbnails, people to help with scheduling, people to help production, I would sit and see how many cases we're seeing. Right now we're looking at Minnesota, right? That's the blow up that's got everybody going, oh my God. And the Somalians in Minnesota. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in Georgia. And there's a lot of crime, a lot of elected people getting in deep, deep trouble. I had a clip of a news report of one official in Georgia who's been charged with defrauding the Unemployment Commission for $18,000 while she was running for office and while she was serving in her little mayoral job or whatever it was. But all these people, even if they have small, like the mayor of a city or a commissioner or a tax officer in charge of assessments, or cumulatively in the aggregate, it's a lot of power if they have Marxist leanings. So, that's the way I must start talking about it from now on. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a godless political philosophy called Marxism. And they can wear whatever suit and tie they want, but they're still Marxists. And that's the big club. So I had a meme I was going to put up. If we don't stop Donald Trump, we're all going to have to get jobs. Because once you become a member of the big club, whether it's state, federal, or local, you don't really have a job per se. What does a job mean? What's one of the biggest things about getting a job that you have to deal with? You have to understand and work to please. And people in government don't have to please anybody. Really. They have to perform. A regular job requires performance. Okay? Or you get fired. Who do you have to perform for? A boss. Most all these jobs are bossless. They're free agents, but they have to fall in line with the unspoken real boss, which is the ideology of big government. And if they do that, and they follow the policies and directives and the talking points, the BS coming from the puppet masters, they're fine. They're fine. Everything's set up to where even if they do screw up and they have somebody above them that is a conservative that has the power to get them, pry them out of their position and government position, they've set it up where they get big severance checks. And they have a union that can put them into municipal positions that open up all around the country so they can retire in comfort and get multiple retirement checks from multiple municipalities. People don't realize how well thought out and insidious the business of running other people's lives have become, how insidious and thorough they've become in mapping out how to run other people's lives and stay in power and prosper and bring their friends and family. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Minnesota. And the left is jumping up and down about this mayoral race in Miami. I said, oh my gosh, I'm just looking at the headlines, and in the back of my mind, I know they're skewed and they're unfair. They're not complete headlines. But my first reaction was, oh my gosh, Ron DeSantis running the government. Florida's a red state, and Miami's a big city, and a Democrat got elected. Oh my gosh. Oh, wait a minute. Do you all know how much of the vote? I'm going to do a question, give you all time to answer. No goggling either. This mayoral candidate, do you all know a percentage of the vote she got? No goggling. Because I'm thinking, how in the world could this have happened? I'm trying to pull up my information on it. There we go. I can refer to numbers and be accurate. Thank goodness. Man, I'm telling you, this is aggravating as hell. I'll try to keep them losing. Could you all hear me when I was cussing earlier? Oh, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Gary. I want to talk about that. Greg said, yeah, 34,000 people. That's all that voted. They're acting like, oh, it's such a huge victory. I lost a couple of people. They got the patience of I won't say. But anyway, What they did was, I'm afraid to go out of the studio now. Did I go off the screen? Did my screen go dead for a bit? Because I got kicked out and I had to come back in. Anyway, it was in the 30s of thousands, 36,000, 34,000, somewhere around there. And do you know how many candidates there were? There were 13 candidates vying over 37,000, 35,000, whatever it is, votes. She got under 36% of the total vote. So what does that mean? What's 36 minus 100? 64? 64% of the people voted for somebody else. You're telling me that's a win? But what they did was they stacked the field. They split the vote. And then they had their whack job radicals rally behind one person. She has got the majority of the total miscreant and misfit malcontent vote. And she got 36%, under 36%. So, does media tell you that? I had to look the numbers up. I couldn't find it anywhere. When I would put in the my keyboard's popping up for some reason. When I would put in Miami mayor race results, it would just be articles. Democrat wins, and that's it. No numbers, no nothing. You know, you click on the article, you read it. Doesn't tell you nothing. So you had to go to the website, Miami.gov or whatever, to find out the vote totals. And then you see how ridiculous it was. I think she got 13,000 votes. Oh, I don't think she got that much. Wait a minute. Here, let me pull it up right here. Yeah, Eileen Higgins, 13,403 votes out of 37,283. She got 13,000 votes. That's what made her the mayor and a national hero. Final cheese, how you doing? Ha ha ha. Miss Menderson, Randy's here. Greg's here. Let's see. I guess I got everybody. Where is everybody tonight? I guess I came up too late after my failed attempt, which is so frustrating. I don't know what to do about that. Anyway, so 13 contenders. And the stories are coming out. I saw on Diamond Silk. Are rhinos helping to have conservative candidates be defeated? So, yeah, I think they are. I think if you have a strong candidate with a MAGA base, I think the rhinos are using money out of the RNC to get another rhino to run and split the Republican vote, working against MAGA. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, you know, Trump lost Georgia by over 11,000 votes. So she barely got enough votes in her total to be elected in that position. Just a few thousand more than what they stole Georgia with. And I can say that now because Donald Trump is unequivocally saying the 2020 election was stolen. Tina Peters, her attorneys, have submitted a letter, and I didn't see Trump comment on it yet. Hi, Wayne, how you doing? But I believe we will see Donald Trump comment on it. That Tina Peters needs to be released from jail immediately because she has, and I'll get the letter and we'll read it together. Have you all seen the letter? Hi, Ann. Have you all seen the letter from Tina Peters' attorneys? It said she was following federal law. They cite the statute, federal statute, where she's required to preserve election records. And that she has in her possession or available to her the surviving copy with a chain of custody. This letter's coming from attorneys, like not these social media attorneys, real attorneys. That she's got the only surviving copy with documented chain of custody showing. That dumb onion is how it was spelled earlier in the chats, right, Gary? We have to be careful because apparently I believe that is still prohibited on this platform, talking about that company, dumb, and then the other word is onion. That proves and shows that the Arizona election was stolen. And the Department of Justice has launched an investigation into the jail there where they're holding Tina Peters. You know, even if you're in prison, you got rights. You know, if there's a deprivation of her rights under the color of law because of her political beliefs or anything, religious beliefs or whatever, they're treating her different. They could be in great big trouble. But anyway, these attorneys are calling for immediate release. And if the Justice Department gets a hold of those records that prove, according to these attorneys, that there was a fraud in a presidential election, Katie barred the door. And I've always said, and I'm talking about this Colorado. My apologies. I said Arizona. I think on another broadcast I said Arizona, but no, this is Colorado. I mentioned a number of times. How many of you remember me mentioning Castle Rock? Castle Rock is supposed to be a marker. If we hear about Castle Rock, where's Castle Rock? Castle Rock's in Colorado. Why did I mention Castle Rock? Well, it was on the 17th letter. But I saw an article that you can't find now not very detailed. You might find a short blurb from a local news, but I saw a much more detailed article about 6 or 7 years ago. That's the Secret Service was opening up a branch in Castle Rock. And it was specifically mentioned that their focus was going to be on international money laundering. The Secret Service doesn't just protect the president and the vice president. They're in charge of counterfeit money. A lot of people in the chats know this already, but there's somebody listening that doesn't know this. And they're also in charge of tracking international money laundering, the Secret Service. The president's own, well, the Marines are really the president's own, but so anyway, what do we know has been going on? We know people have been getting their palms greased. That a lot of these voting machine companies, because you got Smartmatic, okay, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I just did, plus Dumb Onion, have foreign interests involved in their ownership and their maintenance and operations. And we know the Sorosio family is heavily involved in it. Neighboring Colorado is Arizona. And many of you have heard about the phony deeds being recorded, phony deeds of trusts with ghost loans. Yeah, the money got handed out, but it doesn't have to be paid back. But it's recorded. Where'd you get this money? Oh, I got a loan. It's recorded in the courthouse, a deed of trust. Oh, and then they look, a deed for what property? They go out there and it's like a bunch of rocks, or the land doesn't even exist. They put a fake deed in. And that disclosure got shut down, and we haven't heard much more out of it. But we had a lady saying, I have it all. I have the records. I have the deed records. I have proper location. I have the bank accounts that the money went to. Well, it's all been tamped down. This is cartel money. Where do the cartels operate? International money laundering. Okay, that can be from Mexico to the U.S. It could be from Colombia, anywhere. That's not part of the USA. Cuba, Venezuela. But anyway, look for something to pop off about that. These reports come out, and these cases are brought up to give the public time to let it soak into their head. The average Joe Blow, Jane Smith, to soak in their head. Right now, what's soaking in their heads, like Trump said, with Somalians, they don't work in their own country. They have no drive or ambition to make their country better. They don't produce anything. They just walk around and KILL each other. They don't have a police force. They got nothing. And then they come over here and bitch and get money and then look down their nose at other people. The Constitution, as he was saying about Ilhan Omar. So people are naturally wondering If it happened in that state, is it happening in my state? It doesn't have to be Somalians. I watched a video. I talked about past scandals that we're seeing. I mentioned Teapot Dome. I mentioned Tammany Hall. Okay, Boss Troop Tweed. You can watch on YouTube a video about that. That, like it ever went away. It's a carbon copy of what you're seeing now. You had and it was Democrat party bosses standing on the docks in New York waiting for immigrants to come ashore. What did they do? They offered them housing, as help with housing. A lot of these Democrat ward bosses and borough bosses, and had a bunch of rack shack tenement houses. And they said, "Oh, we'll help you get a place to live. Oh, we'll help you get a job." A lot of them had control over city offices that gave jobs out for street sweepers and trash collection, anything you could think of. We'll help you get a job. And they were forever Democrats. I always wondered why the Irish were such strong Democrats. Well, they came off the boat. They had a place to live. They had a job. Their father had a job. I mean, that's when families were intact for the most part. But the machine, Tammany Hall, and Boss Tweed was overseeing it all, was skimming, okay? Bid rigging. I mean, just no bid contracts, no show jobs, all of it being paid for by the taxpayer. So if you watch that video, I might take a couple of clips from it and play it. It's a carbon copy of what we're seeing right now. The same modus operandi, the same scams. And the people got outraged. And Nash, he used to do cartoons. I forget his first name. But he would put cartoons up about Boss Tweed, big fat guy and wearing fancy clothes and his little cronies, and cartoons about that the average kid could look at and understand what the cartoon was saying. Pointing out theft, pointing out grift, pointing out kickbacks. Well, they called it graft back then, graft. Well, that's just another word for theft, fraud. Like the Democrats are doing now. I don't know how many they caught in Georgia. And if I was a part of the big club in Georgia, I'd be looking over my shoulder, because they are zeroing in on everybody in these blue states at a federal level. So anyway, these cartoons were getting put out by, I think it's William Nash. And Boss Tweed was like, get those pictures down. I don't care what they write about me in the paper, because my voters can't read, but they sure can see what's going on with these pictures. He called the cartoons pictures. So that kind of made me think of what we're being told about the meme war. The meme war. We got to keep putting out memes, because people don't sit around and read and digest like they used to. Well, even 100 years ago, they didn't, because they couldn't. So it's a interesting thing. I'm gonna wait and see if somebody brings that up. because it's the exact same thing. But it's not just in New York City like Boss Tweed was. He made the equivalent of billions of dollars back then. We're talking Tammany Halls all over the country, Boss Tweeds all over the country. And they're all answerable to the leaders of the cabal. Okay? And you know, I know that we toss around terms demonic, we talk around terms satanic, but you know, it's tyranny. Whatever they want to call it, whether it's Yahtzees, fascists, communists, Marxists, whatever, they're all tyranny, which is evil. Want to control others and dominate others, especially to push a hedonistic set of values that are an affront to God. Atheism. Anarchy is a form of atheism. So let me see. Hi, Sparky. Melinda, how you doing? Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Gary said, Maduro was captured 2 days ago. I wouldn't doubt it. Gary put a boom in. Was that about Maduro being captured? Well, Trump did say he was talking about the president of Colombia. He said he better wise up. That's what I got in my title. I was going to play that clip too. He's next. And I said, next? What was something been completed with Maduro? I think Maduro. What's his name from Syria? Ended up in Russia. That's the same as being in prison. He's not going to be able to. I saw a report where he was bad-mouthing Putin. If it wasn't for Putin, he'd be gone. He wouldn't be breathing anymore. And you know, Russian security isn't going to let him run around, do what he wants. They can't afford to. They didn't ask for him to put himself in a situation for decades. Anywhere outside of the USSR, the USSR doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry. Anywhere outside of the Russian Federation, what's his name from Syria is done. And I wouldn't be surprised. My point is, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where Maduro ends up, in Russia. The only place he could be safe. Because he said, rumor has it, or the rumor mill has it, that Maduro said, I can't go to Cuba because they'll off me. Because he was been recruited to be part of the communist revolution by the Cubans, by Fidel. Chavez was recruited, and then Maduro was Chavez's successor. They put a lot of time and money into those characters to help them overthrow the legitimate government and turn Venezuela into a socialist country. And they counted that as part of their march toward global communism. And for him to leave would be a betrayal. So they won't take him. They'll take him all right, and string them up in Cuba or any of these other Marxist-leaning countries. Well, they had I see what you're saying. They had a $50 million bounty on him. And, you know, there's outfits out there. They're not evil. They're not illegal. But there's outfits that will put together an operation to go get somebody like that. Even the president of a banana republic. And they got the know-how. Retired people, semi-retired people. Might as well say it, mercenaries. They'll do it. But they have to deliver. They can't like show a video saying, here he is, we got him, give us our 50 million. No, bring him to me or where I tell you. We want him in our custody. And what did Maduro do about 6 or 7 days ago? I played the video. He spilled the beans on Joe Biden, Joseph Robinette Biden, asking him to send Tren de Aragua into America. Do you think he's got documentation of that? Of course he does. You think we'll be seeing Maduro testifying in a quote mark hearings, tribunals? You think it was Joe Biden himself on the phone? Or on the satellite phone or the whatever communications they chose? No, there's going to be these Marxist operatives that took control of the auto pen are going to be involved. There's going to be a paper trail. The stuff that's going to be disclosed is going to be mind-blowing. Not for us. But we have actual traitors, people that have committed treason. And treason is very, very narrowly defined. It's the only crime defined in the Constitution. And they're going to meet the parameters of that crime. They're going to fall right in there. I showed you all where in our nation's history, there's only been 5 or maybe 6 people that were actually convicted of treason in almost 250 years. 5 or 6 people. We're going to see that number double or triple. And I was saying the other day, even the Rosenbergs didn't get convicted of treason. They didn't. Julian and Ethel Rosenberg. But they were the last ones who spied on this country and gave away secrets. They were the last ones that suffered the death penalty. And that was 19. Well, they gave away nuclear secrets. I think they went trial in the early 50s or late 40s. So it's been 80 years, around 80 years since anybody's suffered the fate of traitors. Well, you know, there's one story about a general in Russia. And he was giving the U.S. information. and he was a true hero. His code name was Top Hat. Top Hat. And he approached diplomats in Russia who are looking for a CIA connection, taking his life in his own hands, dropping notes through car windows saying, I can give you all information. I want to help, whatever. Meet me, contact me, meet me. And they kept thinking it was a joke, that he was some crazy person or he was a KGB agent trying to out somebody on our side. I think he tried 3 times. And the 4th time he made contact and left a note, it was like, no BS. You guys what's the matter with you people? Get a hold of me. Can't you see I'm trying to help? Anyway, he knew about the inhumanity of the Soviet system. And he knew he was putting his life in danger. He lost family members during Stalin's purges. This is the way Stalin operated. Everybody's heard the name Molotov, right? Molotov. Molotov was with Lenin and Stalin from the beginning. And he survived all the way past Khrushchev and into Brezhnev's era. But Stalin took and put his wife in a concentration camp, in a, what did they call them? Gulag. For years. And he stayed loyal because he knew if he say anything sideways and you get one in the back of the head. Well, this general had been through this with his family members, and he was a survivor. And he was so bitter and so angry, he knew how evil it was that he volunteered. And for almost 20 years, he was giving very, very valuable information. Didn't want money. He was doing it to be a good human being. Hansen is the first one. And I keep forgetting his name because we got Victor David Hansen now. And this guy's name, what was his first name? He died not too long ago in prison. He had bowel cancer, colon cancer. Do you all remember his name, first name Hansen? Well, anyway, in the 90s, he started giving the Russians information. He made a lot of money. He did it for money. He betrayed his country for money. What was one of the things he told the Russians? Among a lot of other stuff, he gave away military secrets and technological information, all kinds of stuff, but he also ratted out Top Hat. A man a half a world away, Richard, I think that's right, Miss Mendersu, might be Richard Hansen. He's dead now, but he told them this general's name. Like in 98 or something, 1998. Well, they were like, this is crazy. The Russians were like, no, can't be. So they went and investigated this general. He was like top. I mean, he was the ultimate mole you could have. It would be like having somebody working daily with Hegseth being on your side for almost 20 years. as far as intelligence. Well, they said, no, this Hansen guy's made a mistake, got to be. But they pulled the old man out of his job. Didn't accuse him of nothing. They just pulled him out and kept an eye on him, which is rare. Well, anyway, I think it was 2004, another American spy ratted out Top Hat. The old guy knew he was in trouble, knew he was under suspicion, taken out of his job, air quotes, retired. But he was like, if you guys can get me out of here, because I believe they're on to me. Well, I think it was like 4 years later, Aldrich Ames ratted out Top Hat. And that was it. 2 American spies took out a good man who didn't ask for squat. He asked for some watches. He asked for, just a fishing pole. These guys were getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. Aldrich Ames caused the direct execution of at least 10 operatives. At least 10. He's 83 years old. He's alive today. Again, 3 hots in the cot. I guess I'm doing the weave. Does he deserve that? Hell no. Both of them should have been taken care of, just like the Rosenbergs were. If they'd have took care of Hansen, maybe Aldrich Ames would have thought twice, and the old man would still be alive in Russia, or lived out his natural life. He would have died of old age by now. But reports came back after a period of years what they did to him. They interrogated him. They beat the hell out of him. They kept him up for days. And they didn't have to, because he told them everything. And he said, I can't stand your system. It's evil. I wanted to destroy this corrupt, evil system. I told him every damn thing I could tell him. And they took him down the basement and put one in the back of his head. Victor David Hansen's wondering what's for lunch tomorrow. Oh, Victor David Hansen. Aldrich Ames is, sorry, Victor. Aldrich Ames wondering what's for lunch tomorrow. For 20 years, he's been living. And before him, this other Hansen character lived till he died of natural causes. So why have a penalty like that if you don't use it? Because the bad guys use it. They used it on those 10 people that Aldrich Ames told on. And maybe Aldrich Ames would have thought twice if they'd have took care of Hansen 10 years earlier for espionage, for spying on the United States, because he cost people their lives too. Today's 90 days to the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated. If we'd have took care of notorious criminals in a timely manner, a just and timely manner, you think he would have done that to Charlie? If he knew, when I get caught, I'm gonna suffer execution. I'll be executed if I get caught. Maybe he'd have thought twice. Ain't no maybe to it. As a matter of fact, I had a video I was going to play today when they arrested Luigi in the McDonald's. Did you all see that video come out? He gave a false name. He said, "Oh, my name's I forget what his name, Jimmy Paluski or something," and he gave him an ID that was falsified. And do you think that influenced the way he's been being treated in the media and all the tweets that were saying he's a hero for shooting a man in the back for political reasons? You think if he'd been treated like a common criminal and a cowardly murderer, if he'd been berated and put on trial and suffered the same fate that he did to that person, you think this character that shot Charlie Kirk would have thought twice? I bet you would have. But no, Luigi Mangione got people protesting in the street for him, dressing like Donkey Kong characters. Hey, Roland. Graybeard. Thank you, Gary. I tell you, it is so interesting. And a lot of stories are being declassified about Cold War era spying. And it is intriguing. And, I guess I'll have to sit and maybe do a list of names that during our lifetimes, people were betraying our country and causing people to lose their lives. And that is why Hillary's emails are no damn joke. There's estimates that just in China alone, somewhere between 80 and 90 assets lost their lives because of Hillary's unsecured emails. Just in China. Now, asset could be somebody that works in a factory that can, give information on production methods or materials or, small stuff. All the way up to people that have access to serious secrets. An asset is anybody that can give you good information. And when they got those names, they just go to the factory and say, "Hey, you, come here. Well, outside. Get outside," and all the other factory workers are watching. Bang. That's it. And they walk away and leave you there. So, and others, they work them over and beat whatever kind of information they can beat out of them and make their lives miserable. And then they get rid of them. So it's a hellish thing to do. But people like Alder James said, I did it for the money. I didn't have an ideological bent. I wanted money. And he got millions, a couple million over the years. didn't give a 2 cents of a thought about what the people that he betrayed were going to go through. And many times they're family members. So anyway, it makes me sick. And that's why I was so animated about Luigi. I was very angry, but I didn't, come on yelling, screaming on the podcast or the broadcast here. But and when I hear people talking about all these alternative theories besides this weirdo, I get very upset because reality is reality. People say, well, his shirt puffed out. I mean, the craziest things that lead them to a hatch opened next to Charlie and a Jew popped out. Oh, I can't say that word on this platform, but that's what they're saying. A Jack in the Box, JEW, and then drop back down in the hatch, and nobody could know. Whoa. Because the shirt puffed out. Because it looked like it came from below instead of above. They have no knowledge of ballistics, the force, the concussion, the velocity. You're wearing a dry T-shirt and something hits you at 1,300 miles an hour. Your shirt's going to puff out. I seen the guy's shirt puff out because somebody smacked him in the jaw. His whole shirt puffed up. That was a smack, too. But it wasn't like he wasn't asking for it. But anyway, yeah. Velocity, concussion, force causes a shirt to puff out. So, yeah, this guy was, he was primed for it. He had no future. Subconsciously, if you're living that kind of life, and that is your passion in life, is somebody who thinks, a man who thinks they're a woman, and you both dress like animals, and by all accounts, you're living like animals, you have no skills, you have no drive, you're on drugs, you're in this guttural lifestyle. Subconsciously, you have zero future. And they get angry. Well, they have a future, but it's a hellscape. But his fingerprints were all over the gun, all over the casings. And I think if Luigi wasn't held up as a hero figure, it would have greatly diminished the chances of the event even happening. And I'm looking at the chats. I see I see there's notions that, okay, this happened as part of what I don't want to say a show. Tell me what you all are getting at. That it was I'll say display for people to get people to realize the dangers we're in, a presentation. Because the end result of the type of philosophy that's trying to take over this nation, the end result for thousands of years has always been a mass loss of life, lifestyles that are hopeless, and unhealthy and degenerate that lead to illness? Roland said picture show to make a point. He's got children. How many people have seen a bullet hole in a human body? With military weaponry. Roland's seen it. Do you think Che Guevara made it? Che Guevara is a failed version of Hugo Chavez. Che Guevara is a failed version of Fidel Castro. A bullet like that can go in with a hole as big as your thumb, diameter of your thumb or your finger. If it makes its way out, it's like a dinner plate. If it hits a bone, like the scapula, it don't come out. It wreaks havoc inside the body. Scapula, I've talked about it, is Latin for plate, as in like a dinner plate. It's a large flat bone on your back. You got two scapulas. The bullet that hit Reagan exploded. Hit his rib, broke his rib, and one half of it, or portion of it, went into his lung. But it never came out. And the hole was about finger size. Struck his rib and broke apart. But anyway, my whole point being, we got to get medieval. Trump was talking about it with the drug running. He said, I don't think America's ready for it yet, but we better get ready for it. We got to start executing people that are bringing drugs in this country. He's been saying it for years. We should have been executing people for betraying the country, for espionage, especially when they cause others to lose their lives that are serving their country or a higher cause, like Top Hat was. He wasn't looking for fame. He wasn't looking for riches. He wanted to help end a system that was evil. And it cost him his life. While at least two characters were driving around in Jaguars with pockets full of money and betraying their country and other people. He wasn't the only one. Top Hat wasn't the only one that got killed. So, and we sentenced our life without parole. No, the hell with that. And I'm sure if we'd kept doing just like we did with the Rosenbergs, maybe those two would have never betrayed their country if we'd have done it with other cases beyond the Rosenbergs, like in the 60s and 70s. If we say, well, caught another one spying and giving information to Russians, and, set them down in old Sparky, maybe they would have never, Hansen wouldn't have done it. Maybe Alger James wouldn't have done it. Maybe the Berlin Wall would have fell 10 years earlier. And how many lives would have been saved then? Because they didn't just do it to people they caught spying in Russia. When the Berlin Wall fell, they started going through KGB papers. And I forget the name of the East German secret police. But when the Berlin Wall fell, a lot of those records came out. And the people are putting the stories out. There was one guy that was working in a factory for years. I mean, drudgery. Everybody wears the same damn clothes. When you go outside, all the buildings are the same style and design. I think they call it Stalinist Gothic or something like that. They're just cement cracker boxes because everybody's got to be equal. And after 10 years of working at some factory and pushing a pencil and nodding, for his bosses to feel better, they said, oh, you can take your family on vacation for a week. Yay. So he takes his kids and his wife, and they go to a resort on the ocean. And I think it might have been Crimea. But anyway, he gets drunk, and he with another couple, him and his wife, run into another couple, and they make friends. And they put their kids to bed, and the other couple would put their kids to bed, and the four adults would sit around, have fun, and talk, and drink, and joke, tell jokes, whatever, kind of a joke you can come up with in the Soviet Union. And the guy said, he started getting mouthy, talking about the Soviet Union. And he said, I don't know what we're going to do. Brezhnev, this was in the 70s, the 1970s. Brezhnev can barely talk. They've got him propped up. I don't know who's going to take over from Brezhnev, but what different, how different. It's just old men talking the same old politics. Things will never change, something like that. And then he said the next day, he said, well, I drank a little bit. I got a little mouthy. And the couple he was talking to avoided him. They wouldn't talk to him and his wife. For like 3 days left in the vacation. They avoided him. Turned out the guy he was talking to was a KGB agent. So he filled out a report about this factory worker who got to go on vacation for a week after 10 years of drudgery and crap. He said something about Brezhnev being an old fossil and mumbling and who's next, another old fossil. He got flagged as politically unreliable. They came down to the factory and interviewed him about a week after he got home. They let him go home. They called him in a couple of days later, telling him they needed to do another interview. And these interviews last like 6 hours. They interviewed his wife. Well, when he came in for the second interview, he never left. They were going to put him on trial for being politically unreliable. The kids went into a home, a group home. The wife was sentenced to jail for not reporting him as being politically unreliable. I don't know how long she served. She saw her husband for like 20 minutes, an hour before they executed him. They're not told where these people are buried. They did it to thousands of people over many years. During the Stalin era, it was hundreds of thousands of people. My point is, if we didn't have these traitors and the wall fell sooner, maybe that guy, a nice guy, working hard at a factory for 10 years, maybe he wouldn't have gone through that. Maybe, who knows? So, no, I don't think we should have a society where people get the ultimate punishment at the drop of a hat. But when you have people that betray their country and cause other people to lose their lives should be forfeit, and we should not screw around. Because all we do is hurt other people. And political assassinations, they let Hinckley out after trying to shoot Reagan. Now he's doing YouTube videos playing the guitar. And Luigi Mangione, you all know about him. And so what's this delusional furry freak supposed to think? Got no future anyway. You can go from zero to hero. In this half-assed mentality of being good, being just, and not taking another life. Let them, a life sentence is punishment enough. That leads to where you have that video I show you, that dumpy teacher sticking her finger to her neck repeatedly, going bang, bang, bam, bam. But they arrested two of them for threatening ICE agents. That's good. Publicize that. I had some videos I'm going to play of other people that were saying if ICE comes around that they were going to be violent. I hope they all get picked up. Is my voice still coming through? My chat's froze. Sometimes when I talk, I look upward and stuff and I don't look directly at the screen all the time. Oh, okay, I got 5x5s. Good, thank you. So we got to change our view. And we don't want to be cruel, but we want to be just. Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. And it's playing out all the time. Well, I don't know. I'm going to tell you what. If you guys want to hear, because I didn't get time to see if I could find quotes in any entertainment articles or anything like that. But where Tom Hanks is busting about Trump, where what's his name, Robert De Niro, George Clooney quotes what they're talking about with Trump. I don't watch him much. He's a young kid named Mike Zero, Zeroh. He's got a series of videos up he put up yesterday and the day before about Tom Hanks, Robert De Niro, and George Clooney. They're all getting pulled off of out of studios and acting roles. De Niro lost that $7 million contract months ago. And Tom Hanks has been kicked out of this latest deal for being politically inflammatory. But they're all talking about what Trump said about Epstein and Democrats and entertainers. They're all saying that Trump should be ashamed of himself. And I would like to know what triggered them, because it's not being put out. I haven't seen it on True Social. I haven't seen it on Telegram. I haven't seen it on Fox News. I haven't seen it anywhere, but they heard about it. So this kid, Mike Zero, he does videos about, he's I call him young, he's probably, 30, but he does, I haven't watched one of his videos in months because they're all about movies and, Star Trek and whatever. I'm not interested in stuff like that. But when he talks about what I'm just now told you, I'm interested. And WDW Pro talks about inside Hollywood stuff. Yeah, they're on the list. Hi, Cynthia. Susan, nice to see you. But yeah, that's another thing Zero brought up, that they all say they're going to move to Canada or whatever, and they never do it. Ellen DeGeneres coming back. I'm surprised she was let out of the country. With an H on the end, Cynthia. A H on the end. And he'll read the quotes, what they all said about Trump. And that's what got Tom Hanks fired from that movie project about a mystery thriller about a recent politician. Whatever the hell that means. Oh, I haven't seen Tammy. I wanted to thank Tammy for helping sponsor last night's show. You're right, Tammy. If you watch this later, it did just say someone on there, but I know it's you because you said so in the chats. Then Pappy Two Bears and Mike and Bev, Wayne and Norm. Norm stopped by yesterday morning, buy me a coffee. I appreciate it. Helps the channel out. I'll let me see. I don't know if I have a, yeah. I'll put a link in the description if anybody wants to help channel out by going to buy me a coffee. And the links work after the live stream. If you're watching after live stream, I posted it at the 134 mark. 134 mark. Is that what it is, Kim? They claim her home keeps flooding. Is that why she's coming back, like they don't have other places to stay? I heard they can't stand her over there. They're sick to their stomach because she's pro-migrant. My plumber intel, a TikTok video. I'm going to try to copy it TikTok videos are hard to copy. And I'll tell you all ahead of time. She uses a lot of wordy dirds. But there's a lady that put up a TikTok, and she's working at 2 o'clock in the morning, and some migrants come in and buy a boatload of junk food at 2 in the morning. The register tape was about 3 feet long, and they were making fun of her because she was working, and they were making fun of her race because she was white, and making fun of her because she had to work at 2 in the morning. And I'll copy the video. Just get ready for some wordy dirds. You think Ellen's I thought she was just a DYKE and not a man. They can't all be men. Some of them are just plain old looking for the little Dutch boy. That's a bad joke. Oh, but anyway, so I had all these reports I was going to tell you about. Zelensky put out a statement that he's ready to hold elections right away. Because Putin came out and said, we're not going to negotiate with him. Why should we? He's illegitimate. He's not the president. He's part of a criminal junta. A criminal junta. Yeah, she could be. I guess so. She got feet like 2 rowboats. Her shoes are like 2 canoes. Oh, I think he mentioned Oprah also, Cynthia, since you're talking about that. Be careful with your words in the chats now. Yeah, you have to check it out for yourselves. I know they're scum, and I know they're all involved in this stuff. So I just get a overview of a video. I don't listen to every single word. There's not enough time in the day. Zelensky also put out a statement that he and the EU are working on a plan, a peace plan. This was after Trump said, I can't believe he hadn't even read it yet. Well, he put out a statement today that they're going to put out a plan tonight. Him and the EU are going to put out a plan and have it sent to Washington. And he's ready to hold elections, snap elections. But meanwhile, while he's doing this talk, they sent these drones out and blew up, severely damaged, I got the video, a Shadow Fleet oil tanker from Russia. Yeah, that's right, Cynthia. She's mad. But I'm going to play it. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to play it because she needs to be heard. She said, yeah, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm a white person working, you racists. And guess what? When I get off work, I got a second job I got to go to because I'm paying your bills. Oh, she goes off. But anyway, so Zelensky's on the face. He's scrambling. But at the same time, his military is blowing up Russian oil tankers. But that's also another report I had that there's like 1,000 soldiers, 1,300 of them got surrounded in one of these villages and cut off. And Putin said, we're going to end up with more territory. We're willing to go with what Trump is putting out to a degree. We could probably hammer out something. He said, but if we don't, it doesn't matter because we're on a roll, and we'll end up with even more territory. If we got to do it by force, we'll do it by force. Yeah, that's right. Well, it's come back to bite him. And Trump made a comment on that too. He said they need to hold, it's not really a democracy. And he said maybe Zelensky will win. I don't know. But Russia made it clear they're not going to deal with somebody that's unelected. I wish I could show that video of the tanker getting blown up, because that's real. You know what, Gary? I agree with you about a lot of things. But I've said it in the past. I got a little voice in the back of my mind. What this country has allowed to happen, have we really paid a price? I'm talking about like Roe v. Wade, what we've allowed to happen to children for, might as well say, the last 20 years with this rise in transgenderism and kids actually getting altered irreversibly, 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, with a surgically and medically destroyed, a normal life destroyed by the thousands. But that aside, the number of lives lost to Planned Parenthood outfits, then we just let it go. And I don't know that our sins of omission have been answered for. And we can say to ourselves, which is true, a true statement, God always wins. That's true. But if we're let off the hook without learning a good lesson, without having sincere repentance and a sincere method to go forward to make sure it never happens again, is that really a victory for God if we go forward without learning anything, without paying a price? You think that would make God happy? Because God always wins. And nobody walks away from this. And we're told that we're going to go to the precipice before people wake up. Is this a precipice? And because we feel that there's members of the military that are going to get justice and going to straighten everything out and repair the republic, is that good enough for God? Is that good enough for what we've allowed to happen? It's just a question. Is this country going to be able to move forward and prosper without repentance? Without with a sizable portion that don't possess fear of the Lord. True wisdom begins with fear of the Lord, don't you know? Our sense of justice isn't going to line up all the time with God's sense of justice. What does God feel needs to be the price to be paid for what we've allowed. Because whatever that is, that's what's going to happen. Because God always wins. I can plan. I can think I'm doing the best thing. The road to hell's paved with good intentions. So that's my only thoughts on, well, are we going to be all of a sudden in the land of milk and honey? When we've had, and to this day, Christy Nome said there are people trafficking in organs, trafficking in little human beings, abusing little human beings, taking their lives by the millions. Does this country really deserve milk and honey? Or however they want to describe a shining city on the hill. And what point do we have to go to where we have a great majority of the country that will give God his just due? That's right, Gary. What did Abraham get down to before Sodom and Gomorrah was going to be destroyed? Where he said, if I find 40 people, will you spare the whole city? And God said, yes, I will. Because he wouldn't forsake his children. What did Abraham get him down to? 5 souls. Graybeard said 5 souls. And a whole city. If he could find 5 righteous souls, he would spare the city. So we could use that formula and hope that our striving for righteousness, our repentance, could spare the country. And I mean, by ours, I mean people that share our faith and our beliefs, which, as we know, people we don't even know and never will know are just like us by the millions. And then I also keep in mind that the sacrifice of one person was enough to save the entire world. So with that thought in mind, it tempers my concern for the people that are working every day to save this country. Because I remember when Trump got shot. The next rally he went to, there were admirals, high brass, sitting in the front row of his rally in the rain. And I think they were there because they dropped the ball when Trump got shot. That moment and that memory lets me know that it's not all written in stone. The best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. The end result will be what God wants, no doubt. But we've got people in danger every day. And we've got children still suffering every day. Oh, Roland's looking for a date. Ah, bupkis. All right, Miss Mendersu said 1,000 years of peace. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Gary said that was a shot heard around the world, right? Part of the program to wake people up, right? Yeah, silver going way up. I remember it was like $14 an ounce. Now $62 an ounce. Well, all right. So I asked you all's predictions on a broadcast about 2 or 3 broadcasts ago. And a lot of people said May. Am I right? Something humongous and big would happen in May. I am not going to make predictions or try to get people wound up. But there's so many things to choose from. Whether it's seeing perp walks in Minnesota, or while everybody's worried about Minnesota, wham, comes a big bunch of arrests in Colorado of what they did to Tina Peters and international money laundering. But you see, Castle Rock is where the Secret Service has a department for international money laundering, not just for Colorado. Okay, that's where they've got their processing center, their computers, where all the information goes to get funneled through to be evaluated. And it could be anywhere. Yeah, that's right, Graybeard. A lot of people, that's what we're, and I was thinking the same thing too, that we would have a super bash on the 4th of July if we had a big conflagration. But you know what? The Nuremberg trials took a year. A year. They charged Goering and all them. It was 1946, I think, in September or October of 1946 before the sentences were carried out. It took a year. So, I'm thinking, okay, they can arrest all these people. You're not going to have cases resolved by July 4th. Oh, and second out. But anyway, well, I encourage you all to go watch those videos to get those quotes from Tom Hanks and all those other jerks I talked about. But I'm wondering what the comment was by Trump that set them off. Jack Posobiec put out, according to Grok, public filings show Netflix has paid Susan Rice $2.5 million since 2018 in total compensation since placing her on the board. She's gotten $2.5 million, Susan Rice. Is this Ellison buying Netflix going to be like Elon buying X? He said, I bought a crime scene. That's true, Graybeard. But maybe just have them sitting in jail cells will be enough, waiting for trial. We can go have a happy, big, safe 4th of July. We got a new seacot built here on U.S. soil, handle, how many thousands we need. And then we got the barges off of Gitmo. We got Gitmo itself for the real high-end targets. And we might have a big prison up in Greenland or somewhere. Have them all locked up, and we have a 4th of July party, and then the trials will begin after we celebrate 4th of July. I don't know. I'm not going to promise anything or predict anything. All right, folks. Well, I've been almost 2 hours. And what do you all think? Remember, I used to do these all the time, the videos like this versus a picture show. I didn't get, hundreds of people come in tonight, but I got my core group that I enjoy talking to. See what everybody thinks, Anyway, folks, tomorrow, like I said, and I apologize to my Rumble crowd, but I'm going to have to, if I do a picture show, it's going to have to be just to YouTube because I can't get a smooth broadcast doing, it's off and on, hot and cold. When I do both, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't, and man, that's miserable. So, I'll have to upload the Rumble videos when I can. So, I appreciate you all sticking with me on Rumble. Hit the thumbs up button and hit the follow button. Maybe I'll work out something where I can simulcast and see the chats on Rumble too. But it's not available on these two main streaming services. For some reason, they make it a pain in the butt to deal with Rumble. And Andrew Branco will say it, and I've seen Robert Cavoya having trouble with transmissions and stuff. Maybe they'll work it out. I don't know. But anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for spending your precious time with me. And I will be going live tomorrow night. So if you're subscribed and hit the notification bell, you'll know when I go live. So I hope you all have a great night. Thanks for spending your time with me tonight. You all have a great evening. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.